Alright, I figured I'd take a break from watching Dexter Season 3 to pull out this video and commentate on it. Dexter's amazing, by the way, if you haven't already watched that show. My name is Hutch, and I make Call of Duty videos. That's kind of been my patented intro that I've been using these days. And today I got a game of Team Deathmatch on Quarry, playing Modern Warfare 2. I got the Intervention with the Blue Tiger, which doesn't mean anything. I got Sleight of Hand Pro on, I got Stopping Power Pro on, and I can't remember my third perk. It's either Steady Aim or Ninja. And by the time you're watching this, hopefully Machinima posted it in the order that I intended it to be, but if they didn't, it's not their fault. But in a video that I recorded commentary on a couple days ago that's probably posted by now, I went over the ins and outs of why I think this weapon is useful and what's a good secondary weapon and what are good perks and stuff like that. But today I kind of want to talk about general tactics in Team Deathmatch that should help you out. Team Deathmatch can be particularly tricky because there's a fundamental problem with it in that the maps are really, really big and the health is not that high. And to my knowledge, they didn't reduce the health from Call of Duty 4. They just kind of beefed up the weaponry. So I find in this game you're dying a lot quicker than you were in COD 4. The reason I'm not talking about Call of Duty World at War right now is because I kind of focus on Infinity Ward Call of Duties because I think they're the only good ones. But the fundamental problem with Team Deathmatch is that there's no objective. And when you have a big map like Quarry, I mean, it's not huge, but it's pretty big. The problem that you can run into is that whoa, what happened there? How the hell did I just rush those guys? That's the other thing. In Mercenary Team Deathmatch, you're not gonna be paired up against a lot of pro players. The reason I like to pick this is because sometimes when I'm not playing in parties, I really don't feel like joining a domination game and getting stomped on by a party while I'm playing with a bunch of random teammates. But what I was saying about Team Deathmatch is that there's a lot of camping that goes on. So you kind of have to be. If you really want a good kill-death ratio, and I say that because in Team Deathmatch it's all about your kill-death ratio. You can do just as much for your team if you're not dying than if you're getting kills. Not dying is just as important as getting kills. So I tend to play it a little bit more cautious in Team Deathmatch, but by the same token, I don't camp too much. I'll try and do laps around the map is what I like to do. So as you can see on a map like this, there's a big central point in that little building right there. And what I like to do is try and do my best to stay away from the central points and do laps around the skirts of the map. And if I come across a cluster of bad guys, then I kind of take in the scenery for a minute, decide what the best option for me is, and then go from there. But Call of Duty, if you're playing this game, is almost like a game of chess. And for those of you chess players out there, got respect for you. I love that game. I used to play that game quite a bit. In chess, there's three main parts of the game. There's the middle. There's the opening, the middle game, and the end game. So along those lines, in Team Deathmatch, and in any game type really, the opening is all about running a certain route. So for each map that I play, I like to maybe take 2 or 3 routes and use those pretty much every single time. And the point of a route is to get in a position where you can engage the other team and at the same time not be vulnerable to yourself to things like placement grenades and things like that. And the middle game is totally unpredictable. It all depends on how the other team posts up, where your teammates are in relation to where you are. So it's wildly unpredictable. That's why in Team Deathmatch, and it also depends on the map too, because some maps really lend themselves to camping. And I'm finding that in Team Deathmatch, this map in particular, a lot of camping goes on because there's a lot of buildings. And anytime that you have a lot of buildings or a lot of spots where you can hole up, then inevitably in a game like Mercenary Team Deathmatch, you're going to run into a lot of camping. And the end game is all about trying to either pick yourself up if you're lagging in score, or see if you can maintain a lead if you have the lead. Pretty self-explanatory. My secondary weapons here are the Akimbo Model 1887s, and there are some definite positives to using the the Akimbo Model 1887s, and the biggest one is that the range on it is incredible. It has about the same range that the shotguns did in Call of Duty 2. And Call of Duty 2, the shotguns were sort of overpowered, as well as the snipers, because they had an insane amount of range. The drawback to using the Model 1887s is that the reload time can be kind of a pain in the ass. And you can't knife if you're in the middle of the reload animation. So if you turn around the corner and you see a guy, very often it happens if you have a shotgun, and you miss your first shot, I mean, it's kind of hard to stay alive in that situation, especially because you can't knife. Like, if you miss with a sniper, you can knife immediately, but if you miss with these guns, you got to wait until the little flippy animation's done before you can knife them. So that's why on big maps I like to use these kind of guns. So Quarry's pretty big map. You know, there's a lot of buildings, but there's also a lot of open space. So yeah, in smaller close quarters maps, I like to, ironically, considering that I'm using a shotgun here, ironically on the smaller maps, I like to use the Akimbo Magnums, the sidearms. The reason I don't use the machine pistols or any other secondary is because it takes a second when you press Y for the animation to pop up for your gun to come out. Whereas with a handgun like a Magnum, the animation's almost immediate. So if you get in a sticky situation like this one here, if I would have missed the guy, kind of would have been screwed. But I didn't. But if you have the Magnums, if you press Y, the gun comes out just like that, and you're good to go. So what else can I say? I mean, like, I've been getting a lot of questions lately about, I'll talk loosely and specifically sometimes about certain tactics that I feel are lend themselves to sniping in this game. One of them being aggression. I think a talented sniper that can not just hole up in one spot, that can actually be mobile to engage an enemy team, but at the same time not do it from way far off from a distance. I feel like those guys are dangerous, and I try to be one of those guys. And so, I'm not a professional at this game. I don't want people to think that I'm giving off the impression that I'm a pro player and that I do tournaments, things like that. I've tried playing game battles and done competitive stuff like that, and to varying degrees of success. But the fact of the matter is that I just don't have fun doing it. Some people do have fun doing it, and they really thrive and do well in that kind of competitive environment, but I found that wasn't the case for me. So I decided to stick to casual gaming. But on the same note, I have a lot of experience in Call of Duty and the series in general, and so I feel like I can contribute a thing or two to maybe the up-and-coming snipers out there in YouTube land. So yeah, I play this game for fun. When I buy a video game, normally people buy them because they want to have fun with them, right? So that's what I try and do. But I had a lot of people asking me, like, what are your tips for actually, like, having better aim? And I don't go for no scopes often, because the scope comes up so quick in this game that you don't really have to. And at the same time, no scopes are very unreliable in Call of Duty. They'll shoot in a random point within the crosshair. And I know that some people have the opinion that you can do certain trick shots, like one of them's called the G shot, and that will actually straighten out the shot so that the no scopes will shoot straight every time. But I don't believe in that. I think it's a misconception. I've never really found it to be the case that somebody has found a way to have a no scope shoot straight every single time. I mean, if you guys have, then show me an unedited full team deathmatch game or domination game of somebody running around and actually using that tactic, because to my knowledge, that video does not exist, and it probably never will. But one tip that I can give you that might help you out is to actually use your reticule. Like, when you're not zoomed in, you see how you have these little crosshairs, right? You have a little point on the top and the bottom and the left and the right. What you want to do is center your target in those little crosshairs, or I don't know what you call them. I guess you would call them crosshairs, but they're not really crosshairs. But center your target in those, even as you're scoping in. So don't wait until you're all the way scoped in to look for the guy that you're shooting at. Actually, like, aim at the guy before you even start zooming in, and that way when you're zoomed in, you can be really quick, like right there. Like, I try to line them up in the middle of the crosshairs so that when the animation pops up, so that my crosshairs are actually up, I can man, here I was kind of hoping to get a 3-in-1, a triple or something like that, but it just didn't work out. So that's my tip right there. If you guys have any other questions, that's my question of the day for you guys right now. If you have any other questions that you would like me to address in terms of how to improve as a sniper, feel free to leave that in the comments form right here, or any other question that you might have. If you like videos like these, go ahead and check out my channel. It's right there on the screen. Thanks again to Machinima for posting my videos here. I'm going to go watch Dexter.